Hello and welcome. Today is Thursday, the 28th day of September 2017. Let's take a look at some crypto charts. But first, let's try to increase the Bitcoin number via sports betting. Found a couple interesting plays. I'm betting this on Cloud Bet. And what we're looking at is the Russian hockey league called the KHL. And if I take a look at this Novgorod team, the Nizhny. Not good at pronouncing Russian. And you know what? I remember when these guys came in the National Hockey League at the start of the 90s. It took some time to pronounce some of their names. With that being stated, there has been two consecutive games in which there was a shutout by some goalie. In fact, this one, both goalies got a shutout in regulation time. Also on September the 16th, a 1-0 game. And even a shutout on September the 6th. So therefore, through 10 games, there has been 4 shutouts so far, which is occurring at a rate of 40%. I really don't like taking 3-to-1 odds on such, but this looks like a very stingy, somewhat soccer-like kind of league that I've made basically a minimum bet. Not basically, I did make a minimum bet at plus 305 that somebody on one of the teams will not score. Moving over to the Switzerland Hockey League, and I'll look to see whatever I can find. And I think I found something pretty decent in this game between Lugano and BL. As we take a look at this Lugano team at the very bottom, in 7 games, they have won 1 overtime game and 6 total. They're 0-5-2 in regulation time, and this is what this bet is based on, regulation. And they're going up against the BL team in 4th seeded position in 7 games. They have won 4 games in regulation, lost 2 in regulation, and then 1 in overtime. So they're 4-3 and covering regular season games. As far as the total is concerned, they have scored 25 goals, allowed 19. That's a total of 44. And 7 times 6 is 42. So that tells me that the average game total is a little over 6 goals right now. And the over early doing for the BL games. And on Lugano, they've allowed 29 goals in 7 games. They're definitely allowing the goals, to say the least. And therefore, I'll be looking to, I'm thinking now to maybe go over the total on the team total for BL. I'll take a look at that at the conclusion here. But the total is 46 divided by 7. And 7 times 6 again is 42. So that's 6.5 goals. So therefore, the play that was made is that there will be a parlay that BL will win the game in regulation time, and there will be at least 6 goals by both teams, plus 321. So whatever. If you put 1 Bitcoin on it, unless you're rich, don't do that. You'd win 3.21. And let me see what the total for BL would be for the team total. And the site only offers team totals on the home team. And Lugano will be playing this game at home. So those are the 2 bets. Let's move on to crypto trading. 2 days ago, I left off within this area here. I was also in the C's where I was starting off. I didn't have time yesterday to do a video. I did put a buy order for ore here, and I did buy these 2 codes and have added in the position. Nothing else has happened since. BTM, there was some not nice warnings, if you will, on the Poloniex site regarding its wallet. So that was enough to say, no, I don't really want to do it. So therefore, this one will not be played. I'm going to be looking at codes that I have no idea right now which ones I'm going to be talking about, other than going through them in chronological order, codes of which I have not really looked at anytime near soon that I really have no position on. So then let's get started with the crypto charts. We'll start off with CFI co-found it, and I'm not going to really do anything with this. I don't even want to place a buy order. But when I'm looking at something like this on a technical level, here was a situation for it to make a nice reversal in trend as after a long sideways consolidation or a long enough one, nice green candle up, breaking the 18 average of highs, continuation, and then another similar one. And you know what? This is fine, but this is definitely a concern point. Then there has been several days of sideways action. You can also throw in here that short term or not as volatile, a rally attempt, and then boom, down she goes with another test of this key support. I definitely don't want any part of this whatsoever. Let's move on to CRB credit bid, and I think this is a very decent minimum worst play that I'm looking for, which means the lowest amount that I would put on anything I'm putting on this. The idea is always to buy when it's low. Now, granted, if it does break down this support level, it's going to be significantly lower. If you're looking for a play outside the 18 average of highs, and the play means a place to sell it at, you're looking at about 19. You're getting at about 15.5 now. I think for myself, and when I say this, I'm talking to myself in the sense of what I would do. And whatever you decide to do, your own risk, your own reward. But am I ready? Am I going to be buying down in here? And if so, how much? And I think the answer to that might be this previous low. Maybe put a small buy order here. And then also one that's a pierce below. So one halfway from this low to the 18 average of lows is where I'd be putting a buy order, as well as one at the previous low, somewhere around this 10,000 Satoshi level. And then, of course, the original sell, you'd be looking to sell a bit here. Maybe you'd want to put a sell order here, because when these things go, they're ready to go. But I have no idea about any of these things fundamentally. I'm just reading the charts and the mathematics within. Let's look at the next one. Curecoin is next, and this is the weekly chart, which shows a lot of choppiness, which is something I like to see. I've seen in the previous weeks that the price action has made it up to the 7,000 each time, pulling back, and right now 7,000 on this price increase is about 15 or so percent. Let's move this to the daily. And within such, what I like about this is it's been well above the 18 average of lows for quite some time. As we can see, a little bit of an uptrend, as well as a break of this 18 average of highs that's in place. This indicates a couple things to me. One, that it looks like it might be ready to maybe have a break to test into the 7,000. That's the good news. The bad news is if I want to buy now, I'm buying at 58 in comparison to buying at about 54. So then, I think the play is to buy a little bit, the minimum again, at this time, and then maybe place a buy order in at around the 50, around 5,300, maybe a little under that number. So therefore, we're going to go cure, buy, and then order near 52. Let's go to the next code. Let's move on to Club Coin CLUB, which shows on the daily time frame that the stage one of reversal of trend, it's already broken this resistance point, or it's looking to do so at this stage. I like how it's been riding this 18 average of highs as support. When we look at this on the weekly, however, it hasn't had too many good runs, and it's not looking too good overall, as since it's broken down below this 30,000 so Satoshi level, it's not been in any type of bullish runs. But if you're a believer that, okay, it's down a lot, I'm just going to keep accumulating, waiting for an eventual rally above the 18 average of highs, it's got to happen at some point. And you know what? That's the strategy I often do think about. But for what it's worth, I'm just going to pass on this selection. It's down low, but it could even go lower. I don't even know. Let's take a look at clams next on the weekly time frame. If you see something like this and you want to explain what the heck does this 18 average like this mean, well, it meant the price action was way above there, and it just fell down large on basically the intro of this code. This price action throughout most of 2016 stayed within this congestion area. The 18 average started to rise into the month of March of this year. There was resistance established roughly at around the south of the 500,000 level. And it's been basically correcting this move ever since. It has made a move here, the attempt to say, hey, I want to break this and move above the 18 average of highs. And if that is what you're looking for, well, you don't want to buy as it's going up. You want to wait to at least come back to where it came from. And well, that's what we're seeing. Let's move this onto the daily so we can see this more clearly. But the volume, of course, is looking nice. And within such, we can see in here that this had some interesting moves. Now, mathematically, if you are selling near the 200, and we can see congestion area is roughly around 175, you're getting about a little over a 10% push on each one of these plays. But of course, that's if you sell everything on the tokens that you own. For let's assume you did such, and you just happen to know in here that that was where to sell. And you did, you sold everything, and you bought it back in here, good job. Then you sold everything again in here, it came back, good job. Sold everything again. Oop, you might have missed this, but let's just assume you knew that it wasn't going to go higher from here. This is like you know this stuff, and then you buy it back, and then you'd sell everything here. Technically, you wouldn't be able to buy it back. At the same point, when you sell only portions, and this is basically what I do at these levels. So say, for example, you have, say, for every 100 shares or tokens you have, maybe you're only going to sell about 20 or 20% of what you have there so that you can place sell orders in here where in situations like this that they would hit. Now, as far as this pattern is concerned, I actually think it looks pretty decent. As you got like an inverted head and shoulders sort of look with this in the area of the left shoulder, the head, and right shoulder kind of movement. And it's really all the same sort of deal. The happy face formation or the bull face is another way of looking at this as well. The price action right now, it's at the 18 average of highs. Is it maybe better to wait and try to get in at around 18,000? Buy this right now. Combination of both. And for me, the market really hasn't come back down towards this key level. So I'm going to just put a buy order in there and risk missing the boat, meaning it's not going to go down there and it's just going to go up. But you know what, though? There's a lot of boats available, and if I miss some here and there, so be it. So we're going to put a buy order near 180K for Clam. Let's take a look at the next one. Koval, or Circuits of Value, is next, and this is going to be the exception to the rest of these charts. This is something I do know about this chart. I actually am long on this, as I am tailing somebody whom has a good track record on this particular one. I bought within this range somewhere in here. I might have many days ago, but somewhere around this point. I sold a little bit in here. I bought it back. I do all that kind of stuff, and I look at the reward possibility for where these things can go. Previous high is over 600. And of course, the risk is practically everything with these things. You never know which ones are going to go towards such, but this is simply a tailing on somebody else only. Something I do very little with as far as making trades on the cryptocurrencies. DAR is next, and this one is a no-brainer that this is something that needs to be played. I mean, why have I not been participating in all of this fun stuff beforehand? Well, I will from here on in. When I see markets chopping up and down like this, you got to have your sell orders in for this move, this in here. I mean, there's a small play here. You can't get much on this. Lots of opportunity here. Another opportunity again. And all of these sells that could have been, should have been done are bought back now. The whole thing is buying on the lower end, having your sell orders higher, having, of course, buy orders in lower. But at 91.50, price action slightly below this 18 average of lows. Definitely a spot I'd feel comfortable on an entry position. I realize I can put a buy order as well at previous low in here, and maybe even again at about this point in here. So DAR is a buy and an order in at let's say about the around 7K, and again at about 45. That's where the buy orders are going to come into play. Okay, let's take a look at the next code. This is a diamond, DMD, diamond. We just did DAR on the weekly time frame. And interestingly, within this, it's well, obviously been in this long downtrend until this point, and it's been rolling ever since. Now look at this situation in here where they bought it up to this 10 handle, basically close to about 700-800% move from this congestion area. That is just wild. Goes sideways for several weeks, a few months, and then now for the last month or so, it has been in a beautiful uptrend while the entire trend has been in such. So when we look at this just a little bit further before looking at the daily term time frame, I don't like buying things when they are really pulling higher. That's usually selling opportunities. However, we're also looking at possibilities to be selling at some of these higher areas, which just in itself for this area here at around, well, that's basically 3.5 times higher or somewhere along that ballpark. So there's never anything wrong with putting in small positions now. I do like moves maybe back to where it came from. I don't think there's anything wrong at all with putting a buy order roughly around this 14 handle. That's 50% off. That's one reason why I don't like buying as these things are going higher. But let's take a look at this on the daily term time frame. And I think what I'm going to do is, I hate buying above the 18 average of highs. However, man, it just pretty much came back to this point. Very, very tiny buy, putting a sell order in around here. And maybe another buy order in at around this 1.4 number. Okay, next chart. And that will be DYN, dynamic, however it's pronounced. A move above the 18 average of highs, a decent one we can see is a little over the 60. Purchase right now would be 50. That would be a 20% gain at this stage. There was also periods in time before in which had some decent sized moves. So within this, I think this is worth playing to sell over the 18 average high, and then being where it is now, buy now again. And let's see, where would I want to order it? And then order it at around key area where it came from. I don't look I want to buy at this previous low in here. It's already low enough towards it there. So we're looking at hair below 40. We're probably looking at about 38, 37.5 maybe. So somewhere around 38. Okay, we'll show a couple more, do a little over 20 minutes. EBST, eBoost is next. And this is a very common pattern where you have something like this, then it gaps up here and it falls. No, that's not a common pattern. I'm not doing anything with this, but I do find the look of this very interesting. The next chart will be EXP, or that of Expanse, looking at the weekly chart, which has been in this sideways consolidation pattern for the better part of the last couple or so years. price action currently, after making this nice bull run, having a difficult time within this 18 average as a level of support. It's been resistance lately after making a move down below here, establishing that of support, coming back to the band, and it's creeping down below. Don't think I'd want to buy here too much. However, I think at this point in here, making a move down to this low seems to be an area in here, roughly at around, probably around 18,000. Let's take a look at this on the daily chart. And within this, we definitely see a pattern that does not look bullish, one that looks bearish or a short potential if that's something I could do, which I can't and won't. But I look at the distance of where this low happens to be, and that would be a decent leg lower. It also means that where this line is being placed now represents this previous level of support, this level of support as well. That it's a sell area. The mathematics towards such would be buying close to the 40 number, selling at about 55. So you're looking at about a 30 or so percent increase in price, which is not too appealing given the fact that you could have situations where maybe it does something like this and falls, keeps falling. After all, when it made this move in here and had this great action in here, it made a statement that it was ready to revert the trend. And it consolidated it for quite some time. And this last move in here was another failed attempt that I really don't want to put too much risk in this. I don't like the risk versus the reward, so I'm going to pass on this one. FCT on the weekly time frame is in a situation here where we had some resistance in here, some resistance here, and after 3 attempts in here, even 4, nice little breakout here again, making the statement that it's ready to make a move, trade at a new higher floor. Thus, so long term, you'd be mentioning that this would be a lower end or a support area. But things haven't rided so smoothly since that point, resisting or supporting the 18 average until this red period. Then the classic resisting of it, starting to fall over. This support level is getting weaker and weaker as far as I'm concerned, so I want no part of it. We'll finish this up until I'm done the letter F, and then the next video will start with the letter G. And folding coin FLDC will be the final one for today's episode. And I'm looking at a situation here of a market that has fallen from about 1,600 and change Satoshi down to 263. Wild, wild moves. Well, it's still up, at least since this point a little bit. Wild volatility. It's been lacking anywhere near some decent moves lately, so the short-term status is of lower volatility. After having this support in here placed, half-assed rally for a decent amount of time, but it hasn't been good for the entire month of September. It has spent the last few days consolidating sideways, and that might be saying, okay, it's going to go up from here. Maybe, but it's also a measure of correctionary move from this downtrend. And the more often you test a key area or any situation like this, because this level in here, it's been tested for quite some time, that I wouldn't be surprised that this thing can have a decent sized move below. So I'm just gonna, do I want to put a buy order in? Let's see if I can take a look at some more data to see at a perfect spot, because I don't think this site does well with it because they've got some lower numbers. So I'm gonna get the Bittrex chart up. Let me bring that one up. And within this weekly time frame, you can see the same thing here, the descending triangle. I mean, maybe it's going to spark up from here. I can also see an area where it came from in here a little bit. 100's a psychological number. And that would be an area where I would consider buying. Now, this is a strategy in which you use the actual real minimum bet, which on Bittrex is 100,000 Satoshi. Simply nothing more than a reminder tool. which is what I'm going to do here. So we're going to put in FLDC remind order at, say, 140-ish. So I'd put the lowest order in there to buy because I don't want to tie up any Bitcoins. And then on whatever time comes, oh, buy order hit 140. That means I have to be ready to consider, okay, do I want to buy this? Do I want to enter some now? Do I want to stick a deeper buy order in at 100? I mean, the risk for that is you wake up, you find out, boom, buy order hit, 100,000 Satoshi worth at 140. But then you see it goes down to 100 and currently it's back up to, say, 130 or 135. That's, of course, the risk in doing that because you just want to make sure something like that happens. Like you see in here, and the polar opposite can easily happen as well, that you have the buy order ready just in case. So then, let's conclude this video, and thank you for tuning in. Everything you do, of course, is within your own risk and own reward. Have yourself a great day.